happy holidays. Today is a very special video. We're going to be talking about Krampus, the Christmas cryptid of southern Germany. I'd like to give a toast to you and yours, and I hope that the holiday season offers you some comfort. I know this year has been hell, and I hope next year it's a little less like hell, but we'll see. Anyway, happy holidays to you and yours. There are a lot of videos about Krampus. While researching, I found just so many, tons and tons and tons, but they all seem to have a lot of similar information. So I dug a little bit deeper, and I did find some interesting things to think about, to put together, to just kind of ruminate on. Living here in East Germany, I learned that Krampus is not a national tradition. In fact, some Berliners have never even heard of Krampus before, which kind of blows my mind because Germany is smaller than Texas. It seems like there would be more commingling in traditions and habits and things like that, but that is not true. Krampus really only exists in Bavaria and other southern villages and cities. Outside of Germany, we can see Krampus in Austria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Hungary, northern Italy, and Slovenia. The Krampus is a very interesting creature. It is a pagan supernatural. It's a Christmas cryptid, half man, half goat. One who has been adjusted, like many pagan creatures over time, to fit into the ideologies of Christianity over the years, fulfilling the task of being the devil to the Pope. Specifically, in our case for Christmas, Saint Nicolaus, who was actually a real person and who was famous for giving gifts to the poor, which really brings back all of the memories of the various different Santas that I've seen throughout my years in front of businesses, ringing a bell, asking for donations for the poor. And also the red and white suit of Santa makes a lot more sense now when we think of St. Nicolaus, who had a red and white conical pope. Today, I'm going to help you learn how to identify a Krampus in the wild. And who or what is a Krampus? Are they sons of the Norse god Hel, or repugnant spawns of Satan? Or is it just a marketing scheme for the schnapps industry? First, how to identify a Krampus. 1, it needs to be winter. It needs to be the Christmas time, and most specifically, it needs to be December 5th. December 5th is the Krampuslauf, and that is when you will hear the bells off in the distance, the chains jingling, an ominous sign that the Krampus are on their way. On the following day, St. Nicolaus will come and reward all of the good children. The Krampus has many identifying features. 1 is their long claws. 2, covered in black or brown long hairs and furs. 3, a long, lolling tongue. 4, goat horns. Mine are very small, yes, this is true, but I am a baby Krampus. I'm only 3,000 years old. You need to be at least 20,000 years old. And you know, they grow very, very slowly. It's really a pain. 3,000 years. That's it. 5, fangs. 6, they wear bells on their back. They love to make a lot of noise to make their entrance even more scarier than it already is. They also carry a bundle of birch twigs. This is called a ruten, and the ruten is used, well, we'll talk about that later. Chains. Sometimes a Krampus will have chains on its body. There's a lot of different beliefs into why these chains are here, but let's just say sometimes they do have chains. So what happens if you're caught by a Krampus? Well, if you're a child, he will try to terrify you in many different ways. The bells, for one, are pretty terrifying. The teeth and the horns and the fur and The whole regalia is pretty terrifying in general, and of course he will beat you. Beat you with a bundle of birch sticks called ruten, as we just discussed. And as agreed upon in the many Krampus conventions, birch is the best for whipping ass. And the least terrifying thing they will do is give you some coal if you've been naughty. Well, what about the basket, you say? Well, the basket is very clever because, a Krampus doesn't want to have its hands tied up. Not every Krampus does it, but it is an option because he can take you back to hell and he can torture you, eat you, burn you, and just basically
kill you.
What to do if caught by a Krampus? Well, there is only really 3 things you can do. Yes, this is the German 3. You say 3 in the US, 3 in Germany. 3 things you can do to try and escape a Krampus.
Don't tell anyone I told you though.
1. You can offer him schnapps. This is the best option. Offer every Krampus you see schnapps and you will be fine. They will be like kittens in your hand. Will most likely get you out of any situation, even out of the basket. If you don't have any schnapps, well, you could try and recite a prayer as they're beating your ass. They may let you go for that one. The 3rd thing you can do is not really much of a technique. It's just run. Just run. Run as fast as you can, and as long as those bells are fading in the distance, you'll be fine. Now, a word from our sponsor.
This Christmas, have some fun with Baba Jaga. Baba Jaga, what real hags drink. Fire breath, not guaranteed. Herby, sweet, and witchy.
Love that Baba Jaga. So now you must be asking, what is the point of the Krampus? What does he do? Why is he there? What is he assisting Saint Nicolaus with? Well, Krampus is sort of like the bouncer to Saint Nicolaus's club, Only good kids are allowed, and the bad kids, they must be thrown out into the streets and beaten and, sometimes eaten, tortured, taken to hell. All of that good stuff. That's what Saint Nicholas wants, He needs somebody to weed out the riffraff. He doesn't want to deal with any of that. So that is what Krampus is there for, to help Saint Nicolaus as he spends time with the good children. But what is a Krampus exactly? Well, some say he's a demon, but actually the origins of Krampus aren't exactly clear. However, we do know that they have pagan origins like everything else. Krampus is a masculine energy, a combination of 2 things, big goat energy and big dick energy. Or to be more specific, Krampus is a combination of the Yuletide goat from Scandinavia and the WildMan archetype. Let's talk about it. You might be saying, what is a WildMan? Is it just a man who lives in the woods and survives and camps and does all that type of stuff? A little bit. But I know that you know this WildMan, Bigfoot. Not that one. That is not the meme that I wanted to use. Can you please put the right one in there? Thank you. And you also know another WildMan, Merlin. Before Merlin was the wizard, in Arthurian lore, he was a bard. And when his king was slain in battle, he ran away to the Caledonian forest. He spent years there, living in solitary animal existence, with only a wild piglet to cuddle for comfort. Once he emerges from the forest, he has evolved into Merlin the wizard. He can now see into the future and also has magical ability, and he found them there in the forest. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, Enkidu is also a wild man, covered in hair and living and eating in the forest, protecting his animal brothers and sisters from traps and hunters, until a temple sex worker is hired by King Gilgamesh to seduce Enkidu out of the wild. It works, and he emerges, hairless and walking on 2 legs, transformed. As he leaves the forest, like Merlin, he appears to have a mystical ability, combat. The WildMan is driven, fearless, passionate, vital, with a good heart, and who often plays the roles of anti-heroes. So how does this relate to our Krampus? Well, the WildMan of Krampus can be seen in his anthropomorphic form, his hairy body, his masculine energy. In his wild, untamable nature, he is frightening, but also alluring, almost fey. Vitality wanes as winter comes in. It's as if they are here to remind you to stop fucking around and to be strong, be brave for the dark season. There are beliefs that the beating with the birch bundle, the rutan, was an initiation of some sort. Perhaps, maybe more of a lesson, that death is never too far away. Sometimes it's good to be scared, to remember what's important. And we do that during the holiday season. Think about our good fortunes, happy to be with family, safe and stuffed like piglets. Now, a message from our sponsor.
När frosten biter och vintermörkret ligger tungt bjuder julbocken in till en stämningsfull stund framför brasan. Samla familjen och värmer till några av julens mest folkkära sånger. All I want for Christmas is a goat. En julskiva som värmer familjer världen över. Lyssna.
That album is a real banger. Be sure to get your copy of Goats Sing Christmas. Link in description. But what about the Norse god Hel? Is the Krampus son of Hel, ruler of said Hel? We don't think so. That sounds more like a convenient connection that was made to bolster Krampus to the devil origins when paganism was being swept away by Christianity. It's more likely the Yule goat, a spunky Scandinavian pagan goatberg. During the winter solstice in Scandinavia, the last sheaf of harvest would be bound into a goat shape to embody the harvest spirit. In later generations, young men would dress up in costumes, going door to door, singing, performing bits from plays and playing pranks, and with them would be a Yuletide goat character. And this Yuletide goat would terrify the children and also demand presents. I think it's definitely plausible to see this mashup of playful, rowdy goat and wild man melded together to create a much more alluring tradition, at least for me, than our saccharine traditions. Is Krampus the devil? Early Krampus is chaotic neutral. He wasn't bringing any little meat pockets, children, to hell. I guess that would make them hot pockets. I don't think so. He was just beating the shit out of them. If you want to prepare for Krampus next year, you're going to need to be ready on December 5th. And if you can't make it to Bavaria, I hear that there are places in New York where the Krampus seem to be spawning. Just make sure you have your schnapps ready. You might want to just leave the bottle, from what I understand. There is another Christmas cryptid who also likes to wreak havoc and terrify and take lives sometimes. I'm talking about the Karakoncolos. This is a Christmas cryptid from Turkey. They are pretty sneaky. They like to go into your house, eat all of your food, drink all of your alcohol, and then also like to play games with you. But really not fun games. They like to give you riddles, but if you get it wrong. They also like to jump on your back, like you're a pony, and in this method they can control your mind, make you do things that they want, probably bring them more snacks and drinks and stuff like that. However, if you can last until the next morning as the sun is pouring in, then these poor little critters will have to return back to whence they came. I did run across something a little interesting in my research for Krampus, and that is about a term called Mummery. The European practice of mummery during the winter solstice can be traced back tens of thousands of years. Villagers across the continent dress up as animals and wild men, mythic figures, to parade and perform humorous plays. This ancient guising and masking tradition continues to this day as the primary source for our modern Halloween, with its costumes, trick-or-treating, and pagan symbolism. It all goes back to the good old days, doesn't it? I hope that you enjoyed this little dive into Krampus, and maybe you might think about adding him to your own traditions, because I think that there's something very, very special. One, scaring the shit out of kids is, of course, an old-time favorite. It will remind us of our wildness of our own natures. For every man and every woman has a wild nature, and it's nice to visit those wild parts of us, those parts of us that have been confined and restricted by society or religion or other aspects of modern life. So having a Krampus around might remind you to indulge a little bit in your wild side.